want to get to Cole Cubelic and his thoughts on Tennessee's offensive line. And his thoughts are that Tennessee's offensive line is very, very good. Let's pull up his comments. Last look and the last look post-game show brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Look at me. I don't have contacts nor glasses. That's thanks to LASIK. They also handle cataracts. So I want to get to what Cole Cubelic has to say about the Vols offensive line, and we'll do that right now on Off the Hook Sports.
See every play, even from the upper deck, with LASIK vision correction from the Campbell Cunningham Laser Center.
All right, there he is, Cole Cubelic. What does he have to say about Tennessee's offensive line? This is going to blow you away because Cole played for Auburn, but he is the best at calling them like he sees them. What do you got?
But all in all, like, your offensive line played really physical football. They brought the fight, and your defensive line was out of control. Out of control. 55 was like a bowling ball. 20, 21 in the backfield. Even like multiple guys that we don't talk a lot about, like 97 was tossing guys around on the edge. Keenan Peely was knifing through, making plays, had a great block on the interception, by the way, hustling down the field. Some of the bigger bodies lined up outside. So, like, we all know about the pass rushers that are here, but the interior guys are the ones that were making some things happen in this game. And there was a gadget formation that got them. There's a couple misdirections that got them. But very rarely was it just kind of a straight-up play where NC State just beat them. It was all trying to fool them somewhere or another, get somebody out of position, and that's how they would go find their yards. So I thought all around it was a hell of a game by Tennessee. I was impressed.
Yep, there he goes. Cole Cubelic talking about Tennessee's offensive line. We've said it before.
And the defensive line that really stood out to him, too.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, the defensive line, too. The thing that stands out to me is the number of names he mentioned. It's not that he said one guy. You know, it's not like he said, give me one. John Henderson just totally dominated, could not be stopped, took up 3 blockers, so it opened it up for other people. No, it wasn't that. It was this guy's winning the battle, that guy's winning the battle, that guy's winning the battle. In all reality, you can't double team James Pierce because he comes off the edge and it's tough to determine where he's from. But let's say like a guy like Tyree West that's a little bit more predictable in his pass rush direction. You could theoretically double team him. You could put a tight end on him or have a running back chip him every single time. But then that opens it up for somebody else. I mean, that's the thing. We talk about depth of rolling people in, but the other thing about quality depth, who do you double team, Caleb?
Oh, you can't double team anybody. And most importantly, and I don't think this is talked about enough, Tennessee has a level of versatility on their defensive lines, Dave, where if they want to do a 3-man rush and have their edge rusher be an outside linebacker, they can do it. If they want to do a traditional old school 4-down lineman with 2 tackles, they can do it. If they want to do the Nick Saban 3-down lineman with really 2 tackles in there and a nose tackle, they can do it. There's really not a style they can't do. There's not a way they can't line up. They have all the players they need. And it's also, if you keep doing stunts and mixes like that, lining up different ways, and you keep sending bodies at the offensive line, I mean, eventually the offensive line is going to get overwhelmed. I mean, you're just going to, you're constantly rotating bodies in and out. And the best way to slow down or neutralize what this unit does would be with the Josh Heupel offense, where you run tempo when you don't let them sub, because they sub a lot and they're not going to stop subbing. And if that were the case, if you did that, then Josh Heupel would just pull a Lane Kiffin and tell his players to fake injury so he could sub guys out.
Yeah, and I don't think we're overstating it at all to say that Tennessee has a solid 6 defensive tackles that can play. Is that overstating it?
All right, so we got Bryson Easton, Amari Thomas, and Omar Norman Lott are the main ones. And then we talk Jackson Moy, Elijah Simmons. That's 5 just straight in the middle. But then you have what we call your hybrid defensive tackles / ends. And that's where you get your Jason Jenkins, Dominic Bailey's, and Tyree West. And that's 8 right there. So, I mean, I I can't disagree with you. And then we haven't even started with the edge rushers. Joshua Josephs, James Pierce, Jordan Ross, Hobbs.
Let me give you the difference between me and Caleb and some other people. Some other people would be saying this to get you stoked because, I don't know, maybe they think it's good for ratings. But a lot of those guys, I mean, give me, let's take Jackson Boyd, for instance. He's further down the depth chart because he's newer, okay? So he would have played a full half against Chattanooga to get him up to speed if they didn't think he was already up to speed. So what they're telling you by their substitution patterns is that they're all very competent at the position and even potent at the position. It reminds me of one of the greatest plays in college football history, and definitely one of the greatest plays in Tennessee football history. You know, Billy Ratliff was not supposed to be out there in the fumble, Caleb, that happened in the Arkansas game, the Arkansas fumble in 1998. Jeff Coleman was dog tired and said, "Get in there, Billy. I can't play." Billy blew up Brandon Burlsworth for the first time because he was fresh. Burlsworth handled Billy Ratliff. This is what Billy Ratliff said, not me. Burlsworth dominated the whole game, but you run a Billy Ratliff out there that is fresh and not technically a starter, although he's one of the most gifted athletes that Tennessee's ever had. Just injuries got in the way. That's what caused one of the greatest plays in Tennessee football history, and that very well could happen this upcoming season, Caleb.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that one specifically because truth be told, the let's call it what it is. The star of that defensive line that year was Sean Ellis, right? Like Darren Walker was good in the middle, but Sean Ellis was the star of the line up front, wasn't he?
Agreed.
Corey Terry was actually really talented on the other side, but on the interior, they were rotating a lot of guys, and that's what gave them such an advantage. And I've talked to you guys about this before. I'll go to another one, 2001, obviously. And we talked about this with John the other day. Would you rather have John Henderson and Albert Haynesworth, or would you rather have 8 solid defensive tackles you could go to? And the latter, we all agreed, was the solid defensive tackles. And you know what, Dave? You tell me. Maybe we overreact. Maybe we haven't looked into the fact that maybe the reason Tennessee struggled with LSU in the SEC title game in 2001 is they really just ran John Henderson and Albert Haynesworth the whole time. The whole season, and maybe eventually Matt Malk just wore them down.
Well, good Lord, if you can come up with a reason for that fiasco, then good for you, because I still haven't. That's as good as any I've heard.
I mean, it's the only thing that the best rush defense in history can't stop a running quarterback.
Yeah, that, and I booked my tickets to the Rose Bowl at halftime when they came out, and they did an announcement. For those that don't remember the SEC championship game of 2001, Tennessee lost, should have won. Nick Saban beat them at LSU. With LSU, and in the SEC championship game at halftime, they came out and they said, "We're here to report an injury," which they really don't do a lot. Rohan Davey and Brandon Tofield will not return to the field in the second half for LSU. What does Dave do? Expedia.com. Here we go. Let's book a place in LA, book tickets and everything. So that's my fault. It's either my fault or what you said. John Henderson and Albert Haynesworth were tired. I don't know what it is.
Or the one that they say.
Or the coaching.
Yeah, or because the coaches, I mean, the coaches have said this. People keep saying, well, you know, when Matt Malk came in, and I do believe that Matt Malk coming in, they weren't prepared. But as Jimmy Hyams pointed out, what is the not preparing for a quarterback draw? It's a quarterback draw. What analytical thing? What new idea do you got to figure out how to stop that? Hey, how about you tackle the guy when he runs? And so, but
Caleb, I'll tell you this. I don't know if it's Rodney Gardner, it's Tim Banks, or it's internal leadership, whatever it is. But when I was watching to do my Heisman column that's on Off the Hook Sports, and I've got Nico rated 3rd based off what they've done and what I think they will do. Teams defensively don't play like Tennessee across the board. I use the term a lot, hair on fire. That's how Tennessee plays. It's active, it's vertical. There are a lot of teams that sit back and watch. As a matter of fact, I could make an argument that Tennessee's defense, if you're a football aficionado, is every bit as fun to watch this year as their offense.
Oh, absolutely. That was a really fun defense to watch the other day. And
I always pick to write about Nico and whatever he does, basically, because I know that's what everybody cares about the most on our postseason columns. And by the way, we'll have the last postgame show brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn right after the Kent State game. But honestly, I just as soon sit back and write about the defense and chart plays. It's just, you kind of got to go into it with a plan. But I mean, I'll ask this question. I'm more excited about Nico or Vols overall depth. 85% of the people, I love our audience. You're so smart. Hit the like and subscribe button, guys, because I want you a part of it. Make sure the notifications on. Big stuff coming.
And
85% of the people say Vols overall depth. 15% say Nico. Kudos to you. That's the right answer.
for me, it's still Nico, but I just love watching a quarterback like Nico play. But
okay, but if you had would you rather have Nico and a C roster, or let's just put it like this, or would you rather have I was gonna say somebody that rhymes with Bo Hilton, but I don't want to get in trouble. Would you rather have an A+ roster with Gaston Moore?
Okay, yes, the A+ roster, but history bears this out. I mean, you had Peyton Manning with an A- roster and T. Martin with an A+ roster, and one of them won the national title. And so, I mean, I agree. Quarterback's a little more important now than they were back then, but still, I agree. And I wanted to tap into Cole Cubelic's point real quick, because, guys, I wanted you guys to understand this. Cole Cubelic with SEC Network, when I say talk ball, I mean, he's the guy you go to when you are looking for analytical breakdowns of blocking schemes that no one else in football does. No one else in football dives into those like boring minutia stuff that we like, that a lot of people wouldn't, that your average casual fan wouldn't like. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, Dave? Like,
yes.
Cole Cubelic gives that to you in a way that nobody else can. He studies it thoroughly. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is for him to actually be impressed by Tennessee's defensive line. He knows that NC State's offensive line is outmatched. He knows what Tennessee's in for with the SEC. But for him to still say they stood out to him, that means something. It means a lot more coming from him than it does almost anybody else, including any head coach, including Nick Saban. It means more coming from Cole Cubelic than anybody else to impress. Is that fair to say? I mean, that carries more weight because of the fact that his almost like his beat is covering defensive line and offensive line.
Agreed.